growth happens when there's momentum. But I wrote underneath, momentum happens from passionate engagement and re-engagement.
Well, hello and welcome to the Direct Selling Accelerator podcast. I'm your host, Sam Hind, and it's my honor and privilege to have you joining me today for a very special interview with an incredibly special woman. My passion, as you may know, is the direct selling industry and how this industry changes the lives of people every single day. This industry has been around for many, many years, but it is going through an incredible time right now of growth, of possibility, and of course, a big shift, I think, in perception. Today, I had the honor and privilege of interviewing the amazing Donna Johnson. Donna has been a top leader in this industry and started 47 years ago in her teenage years. She's one of the top leaders with Arbonne, a company you may be familiar with. And on top of that, she's now a mentor and a best-selling author. Donna is passionate about impacting the lives, particularly of women in the direct selling industry and seeing people step into their fullest potential. She has led and guided her incredible team through many highs and lows and ups and downs throughout this industry over almost 50 years. Today, Donna shared some of her insights into this industry, into what it's capable of doing, but also some strategies to help you grow a powerful business for yourself. She's shared some of her leadership strategies, as well as some of the obstacles that she had to overcome herself in order to be the leader she is today. So, as I said, I am absolutely honored to be able to share this interview with you. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to tune in. I know you're going to love hearing from the amazing Donna Johnson. So with no further ado, I'm going to hand over to that interview and let you listen on in. Grab yourself pen and paper. You'll definitely want to take some notes with this one. Well, hello there and welcome back in to the Direct Selling Accelerator podcast. I am so honored and privileged to introduce a very special guest today. Welcome on in, Donna Johnson. It's so great to have you.
Oh, it's so good to be here, Sam. Thank you for inviting me.
Oh, look, as soon as we met, I knew that we were going to have a fantastic conversation. I know you and I got a really great chance to meet in person while I was over in Utah at the Direct Selling Summit, which was so great to be able to hear you present, but also meet in person and chat a little bit about your beliefs and philosophies around the industry and your incredible journey. But just before we chat about the conversation we're going to have today, I'd love to just spend a little moment letting our beautiful listeners get to know you a little bit better. So, Donna, you are both a mentor, you're a best-selling book author, you have been a top leader in the direct selling industry for 47 years.
I did start as a teenager.
Oh my goodness. I think you started at 4, right? How old were you when you started in this industry?
I was 18.
Wow. And what on earth, because it's very rare that I get to meet someone who, like me, started in their teen years. What got you started in the direct selling industry at 18 years old? What did that look like for you?
Well, I was hungry. Came from a broken family, too much month at the end of the money. My father left our home when I was young, didn't go to college. But I was a competitive swimmer. I competed. I was nationally ranked. I was the president of the pep club for high school. So I wasn't the cheerleader, but I was the organizer. And I just had a desire in my heart to not have a 9-to-5 job. I wanted to do something. And so when I saw direct sales, this is before computers and everything. I mean, I just said, whoa, I can make money doing this. And so the rest is history. That was 47 years ago. I started for 10 years with more of party plan. Most of the income was at the single level, which really is so bizarre for me to see so many companies wanting to circle back to removing the multi-level from the compensation plan. Because when I saw my current company 38 years ago, the product, the business model, the compensation structure meant for team building and, of course, sharing this amazing product that has always been my philosophy. And so I've been with my company now for close to 38 years this year. And I
Wow.
love it. I tell people that I am completely unemployable and
I love
I
it.
love the
I love
journey.
that. I heard you say something a second ago and I was like, hang on a second, she got that wrong. She got a bit tongue tied, but you said you had too much month at the end of the money. And I realized that was very deliberate what you were saying there. But also I didn't realize how much we've got in common. I grew up in a broken family just like you, which was what led to me being in the direct selling industry because we couldn't make ends meet. I was also a competitive swimmer, would you believe? So there you go. That's amazing. So, Donna, at 18 years old, and we're talking back, like you said, before computers, before the internet, before everything was on social media, how did you get introduced to this industry? Did you attend a party or a
Yep.
demonstration? How did that all come
I
about?
I was working as a secretary. I was a swim coach after high school, and I went to a party. And I just
Yep.
asked the girl that was presenting, I could make money doing this. And it's, all my friends were going to party in the bars at night. And I was like, I can do these parties. I just had so much fun. I was passionate about it. And I think that's the key is if you love something and you're passionate about it,
Mhm.
and you will just ooze out. People will pick that up. It'll be so authentic.
Yeah. I love that. And so in those early days, for those first 10 years you were with the first company that you were with, and I think you said to me before you were with Jaffa initially, and then you've been with Arbonne now for 37 years, and you've been a top leader with Arbonne for most of those 37 years. What did that look like, that
Yes.
journey to leadership?
So fun. I started with the company when it was 7 years old, and there wasn't a lot of growth. In fact, the handful of people in the business, they didn't really want to enroll other distributors because they didn't want to enroll their competition. So I
Oh,
already
wow.
understood team building and how companies can grow because of, spreading that out. So my beloved late founder, Petter Mork from Norway, I just said, Petter, I want to build a team and share the product through a system with a team. And he was so grateful because that's how the business exploded. I became the first national vice president. Over 90% of the company is in my success line team. And I love how we've evolved and grown over the decades and just been a really beautiful brand.
Yeah, I love it. So, Donna, when you started your business, there are two different activities there. You've got the activity, of course, of gaining customers and selling product and sharing that product. And then you've got the activity of growing team and not just recruiting people, but then also nurturing and
Mhm.
training those people. What were the strategies that you prioritized in your business in those early days to get momentum and grow to become the leader that you are now?
Well, I've stuck to the same philosophy, but absolutely the tools and the technology have changed to make the duplication process so much, I don't want to say easier, but efficient.
Mhm.
And so, really, the same principles as back then. Meet the people, see the people, share the product, share the business, find the fit. I would never enroll people in the business that didn't want to build a business. They were my customers. And so I always had that philosophy. It made sense to me, give them what they want. And many of my customers joined the business after they loved the product so much. But I just taught them, I just did it. I did the business and then I taught people what I did. I would teach and duplicate. I wouldn't do it for them but just would teach them. And my goal was to empower leaders and grow leaders, not just followers. And so, share the stage is my philosophy.
Yeah, awesome. So, what did you do to do that? I mean, it's really easy to say find the leaders and empower them and grow them, but that doesn't happen on its own. Like that
Right.
takes a lot of commitment, dedication, but a lot of skill as well. What are some of the actual things that you did, the strategies that you implemented in your business on, say, a daily or a
Right.
weekly basis to help you do that well?
Well, in the beginning, we didn't have internet, so it was all in person. And
Yeah.
back then, phone bills were very expensive. And so it was just a matter of networking
Yep.
in your warm market, in your cold market. Many of the same things we do today. Fast forward to current, now we still do in person, warm market, cold market, and online. So it's
Mm.
just, I think that time and technology has just afforded us more tools to expand our businesses even more and a broader reach.
Yeah. So, coming back to customers, you said something really important before, which is, when people fall in love with the product, they join the team. And, I think there's a lot of confusion around, am I recruiting or am I getting customers? And those two activities and almost every leader I speak to will say to me, they start as a customer. When they fall in love with the product, they become passionate about the product, they become great in business. And so
Mhm.
it's that transition process. When you started in this business and you were just trying to get new customers, what did that look like for you? Was that I'm going to contact all my family and friends and tell them I'm in the
Yeah.
business? Did you run events? Did you do parties and
Yeah.
demonstrations with people? Did you do reach outs? What activities did you do to help you build that customer base to
Mhm.
start that process going?
So that's actually not my system. All right, there are people that start as customers, but I have shared the business and the product because my philosophy is the very best product we have to offer is the business opportunity. Because
I love
if
it. Mhm.
I, at the age of 18, would have said yes to the product, but no to the business, my life would be completely different than it is today. So I never not present the business. Now, I don't prejudge and I don't enroll them to be a business partner if they're not interested. I always, we listen. We have two ears and one mouth for that proportion. You ask questions, you find their needs. And I love to say, Sam, you would be amazing in my business. Can I show you what it is that I do? It may be a fit for you, it may not, but take a look. I think you would be amazing. So after they look at the
Yeah.
business, if they're not interested in the business, I can say, that's no problem. You are going to absolutely love this product. Hey, let's get some friends together. Let's network. And if anything ever changes and you're loving the product, you're sharing it with you're telling other people about it, I just want you to know the door is always open. Um, to join me in my business. And I've had people reach back and say, my life has changed. I'm ready to join you in your business.
Oh,
So
I
we
love that.
actually have some top leaders. I think of Debbie Neal right now, amazing leader in my team. She was very successful in corporate America. She was a busy mom. She was on the East Coast, and she met someone at a barbecue, and the person said, you can really make a lot of money doing this other business. And she didn't lead with the product. She said, hey, there's a business I want you to look at. Now,
Yeah.
Debbie does the same thing. We focus on product, right? But we're also talent scouts. We're looking for business builders. So, yes, we do have a lot of customers that love the product so much. We love to give white glove, red carpet service. When they're shopping online, they're dealing with a computer. They can't even talk
Mm.
to a live person. And so we love to go out of our way to give incredible service and do fun things. And actually, I think that's what's trending now in our society. We heard at that event in Salt Lake, the biggest epidemic is loneliness.
Mm.
And so our business of team building and community and culture people are craving that.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that so much. There's so much in that. And that really simple delivery. I think you said something very important there, though, which is you don't prejudge and you give everyone the opportunity. It's really fascinating, isn't it? How many people, even if you're asking the question, you might still have prejudged that person, and you learn very quickly, I don't know what's going on in someone's world. And this is an
Can I share a
opportunity that
story
changes
about that?
lives.
So
Absolutely.
over 30 years ago, I talk about not prejudging. I met Rita Davenport, who was a famous author and speaker and very successful. She had a television show here in Arizona. And I said, "Do you get tired getting out, going on planes? And, have you thought about adding another income stream in your life?" And she just kind of laughed and put me off for a while. But she realized she looked at the compensation model and realized and joined me in the business. And a few years later, Peter Mork asked me to be the president of Arbonne. And I said, "I love the field. I love being with my kids. And I don't want to go to corporate. I don't want that. I don't want to go to California, but I have a leader in my business that would be amazing." So Rita was our president for over 20 years. So I did not prejudge her because she was famous and successful. So, you might drive past a beautiful home or see someone in driving a beautiful car. Guess what? They have the same dreams, desires, discontents that we do. And
Yep.
oftentimes they know a good business opportunity.
Yeah. Absolutely. What a really important story. And it also goes the flip way as well. I had something happen just very recently where Greg and I went to a head office of a company, and we were taken to have a little look around. We often get taken on little tours of head offices when we go to visit them, because we're all the way over from Australia and they want to show us their setup. And so we got handed off from the person that we were in a meeting with, and this person who was in jeans, they had an old t-shirt on, a baseball cap on, were just had that sort of rough look about them. Took us on this tour, and we just got chatting with them. We asked their name, but no more. And we get to the end of the tour about an hour later, and the person said, "I'll see you later." And it was at that point, I don't even know how it came up. I think Greg might have asked the person how long they'd been with the company for, and they said, "Oh, 20 years." And Greg said, "So what do you do here?" And they went, I'm the CEO." And the both of us just looked at each other. We got in that lift and we walked out, and Greg looked at me and he said, "I learned a really big lesson just now, and I'm so glad I learned the lesson." But he said, "I should never ever prejudge." He said, "I know we keep saying this all of the time," but he said, "I just judged in my head and thought that this person was somebody just random, a staff member that had been asked to come and show us around." He said, "It didn't even occur to me that they could be someone who was, in a high up management role." And he said, "I just missed an opportunity to chat to someone really important about some really important issues because I'd prejudged." And it's just such a good point. I think,
Yes.
anyone and everyone can make a big impact on our lives. We can also make a big impact on anyone and everyone's lives. And we shouldn't decide what that looks like before the conversation, right?
Yes, that reminds me of my founder, Petter. He would dress all, casual. And my son's favorite memory was being with Petter's son and Petter climbing coconut trees. I mean, you just can't make this stuff up.
I know, right? And this sort of stuff does have happen all the time. But I just want to come back to even asking about product. We've got an industry that, let's just call it out, it has a reputation. It's got a reputation for lots of different reasons, but it can be a little bit hard sometimes to break through that trust barrier with people to enter into this industry until they know that it can be trusted, that it is safe, that it is going to be good for them, that you're not going to hound and hassle them, that you're in it for them as much as you're in it for you. There's a lot of questions that people have in their minds, and so I think because of that, often people enter into this industry, and I think one of the reasons people fail so quickly industry is because they make assumptions about other people's assumption of the industry. And so they don't ask people the question. They don't share the
Right.
product because they're thinking you're going to have an opinion about direct selling. So I'm not going to talk to you about it. Do you find that is still a big issue?
Not as much. I just think there's enough success stories of just normal, average, authentic people having success, not building with hype, being honest, showing
Yeah.
up with integrity. I like to say, under promise and over deliver. The products in our profession are the best.
Yeah.
And all this silly noise about pyramid and all that, it's just almost funny. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but every corporation I see, there's no one in lower management making more than the CEO. And when people go off to Hollywood to be an actor, not everybody makes it. Everybody who plays golf that wants to be in the PGA, not everyone makes it. So it's true, not everyone makes it to the top, but everyone like me, an 18-year-old from Wisconsin from a poor family without a college degree can look at an opportunity and say, I can do this. And I don't have to sit across from a desk from any boss that says, well, you don't qualify for that. You don't have a
Yep.
college degree. There was no glass ceiling. So the products work. Oh my goodness. I get a facial in Scottsdale, Arizona, once a month, the land of needles and knives. And she just cracks up every time she sees me. Donna, there's no one your age that has not put needles and knives on your face. And I just can't believe you haven't done that. And I'm like, it's because I use an amazing product for all these years, right? So our
Yeah.
products are amazing in this space. We have to do a better job of supporting each other. That's why I am on the A&MP board and lead the ethics committee. We got to get better at supporting each other in this profession and not circling the wagons and shooting each other so that
Yeah.
we can really share this business the way it deserves to be shared.
Yeah, so well said. And it is such an unbelievable industry. I think we see and hear these stories. I get the front row seat of hearing these stories every single day about how it's changed lives, but it still does today. Just coming back to that though, let's just speak into something that I think is kind of the elephant in the direct selling room at the moment, which is how safe is our industry? A lot of people thinking about entering the industry are asking the question, or maybe people who are in the industry right now are asking the question, is my company safe? And I know that we can't answer that as a whole, but you and I both sat in that room and heard a lot of companies talking about where they were at and shifts and changes. And we're seeing a lot of companies moving across to the affiliate style model. Some are bringing in a hybrid version. And so they're taking away, a lot of them, that team building element.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think the safety of this industry is right now? And if you were advising somebody, I know this is a hard question, Donna,
Yeah.
but I'm still curious to hear. But if you're advising someone who's looking to enter into the
Yeah.
industry, what advice would you give them to make sure that they're building a business that they can rely on being around in 5 years?
Well, we'll never know if that's if our company is going to pull the rug, right? So we have to have belief and trust. There will always be in every industry, there will be companies that fail. Look around in every city, there's empty buildings. So every profession has regulatory and financial issues that cause problems. Our profession is not exempt from that. I think Jeff Olson said it best. Pressure can do one of two things to companies. It'll either break those companies or it will strengthen and fortify the companies. So unfortunately, we have seen that some companies cave to the stress and to the shiny penny, but it's the MLM structure that has brought the business to the industry. If I would not have joined my company and the leaders that were there didn't want to enroll any other distributors, our brand would have not grown, right?
Yeah.
And so I think a lot of people who sit in the C-suite have never done what we do, and they don't realize that we are the engine of the Ferrari. Okay, you take that engine out, it's not the same. So the weak companies that are, their head is on a swivel looking for a different model, during a tough time, during pressure, because we have entered a little bit of a dip and a little plateau, but we're emerging from that. We're gaining some momentum. It's so exciting. And so the companies that are strong and committed to the model and in momentum and growing, and each person, each leader, what I tell my team is be a part of the solution. Build your business, have fun, fall in love again. Gordon Hester did an incredible presentation in Salt Lake, and he did an analysis of all the companies. And he said, the companies that are growing are in momentum. And I'm sitting there as a field leader going, duh. Well, after he was done with his presentation, he came and sat by me because we are on the board of A&MP together. And he saw something I wrote on my note. I wrote what he wrote. Growth happens when there's momentum. But I wrote underneath, momentum happens from passionate engagement and re-engagement. And he said, where did that come from? I didn't say that. And I said, I said that because momentum only comes when someone is passionately engaged or they're passionately re-engaged. And I have seen a lot of leaders in my company and other companies across the channel that have gone into apathy. They have gone into retirement. They have gone into entitlement. I've gotten to this level. I've got a paycheck. I'm just going to ride this thing out. I'm sorry. We all have to be a part of the solution. And so many of those leaders in our profession are getting re-energized. They're refueling. We have a legacy business to protect. And so I think momentum is huge right now. The opportunity is better than we've ever had.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And I think there's a lot to that re-engagement process, and looking at how do we reinvigorate people right now and get them re-excited, because I agree with you. I think there is a massive opportunity for growth this year, and the industry is not flooded. Your products are not flooded. The companies are not flooded. This is a really great time to be growing an incredible business opportunity. But with all of that being said, I want to just come back and ask you a really seemingly boring question, but I actually think it's a very important one for the business builders out there. I want to talk about database for a second. One of the things that you mentioned before, of course, is networking and the importance of networking and consistently reaching out with people and connecting with people. Do you or have you ever used a system to manage your own network so that you are consistently and maybe in a process-driven way networking to grow your business?
Yes. Well, I personally stay in my lane with systems. I follow Brett Lake, Renewal for Field Leaders. This has been a real blueprint for our business with systems and staying focused. And so our company does a great job of our back office, but the leaders and I have actually built a system around his philosophy, and it is running like a Ferrari. It has an onboarding component to it.
Yep.
It has a prospecting component to it. And it's funny because, our onboarding system is brilliant. And I'll have leaders say, I don't know, I really don't look at it because I'm not really enrolling anyone. And so if you're not bringing people in, there's no one to onboard, right?
Yeah.
So we put that aside and we go, okay, let's lift up the prospecting system and let's talk about re-engaging, getting out there, seeing the people, meeting the people, social media, in person, have fun. We're going back to old-fashioned parties. I have a team up in Green Bay on fire, and they are having so much fun. They're re-engaging, and so when people say to me, is the answer in social media? Is it in person? And I said, it's both. It's just have fun, get excited. But if the onboarding isn't working, it's because the prospecting is not working. So once the prospecting system is kicking in, then it's like a pipeline. You have people to funnel into your onboarding system. And because our onboarding system is so incredible, the leaders are saying to them, okay, build your dream team. Who do you have? Who is going to are you enrolling that you can put people through the same system?
Yep.
Because a confused mind says no, but when they're having a positive experience and they're saying, "Wow, I have support, I have training, I like this. This is working," then they're comfortable to bring their people into the network.
Yeah, so good. And again, I think that system of pipelining, it all comes back to the basics, right?
Yes.
Constantly fill the pipeline, and then you're going to get that drip through at the other end, right? The
Yes.
power of always be networking, always be talking to people, and I love that. So what was the system? You were just talking about a system that you're using. You
Yeah.
held up a book. I barely saw it.
Oh,
I
I'm
want to.
sorry. Well, we just the philosophy came from this. It's Brett Blake, Renewal for Field Leaders,
I love it.
and I know that Sarah Robbins and other top leaders from other companies follow the same system. And but we work with Attractwell. It's a free app that our leaders get, and then it's a vault system that has all the tools and support. And then we've hired virtual assistants to manage it so that the leaders that are developing it, we don't have to be in admin mode. So the way that I look at it is this: the company does what the company does, right? They support us with the product, the support, their app. So, our company has an app and a back office, and we call that more of the bottom up support. Okay. But they don't do what we do, just like I don't do what they do. Okay. They don't know how to do what we do and train and lead and help people build their business. So what I teach is that let the company support us with their app and their tools and their back office and all the goods. Our what do you call it? We call it the replenish me, but it's your auto ship, things like that. And then
Yep.
what we do is we come in with a leadership app for training and support. And so instead of the two competing with each other, they merge and support each other. And so I am finding in my business, I've given it time to get some traction. It's funny because Brett Blake lives here in Arizona, and I told him that we're having success with this. And I said, but it took some time. It took just repeating it over and over. This is what we do. This is how it works. And he said, I'm so glad you stuck with it because so many leaders have told me that they build it and then the people don't come and follow, and then they just give up too quickly. And he said, I'm glad
Yeah.
that you stuck with it. And so I just want to encourage leaders, if you're out there, don't chase every shiny penny. I'm very careful what I allow into the space because it gets so confused. People's head, Sam, can be on a swivel watching everything out there. Well, what are they doing? What are they doing over
Yeah.
there? Right. And so just be very protective, do your own research and really seek out. But to improve and innovate, I think you will be left in the dust if you do not innovate in your business. And I'm so proud of our team because that's what we've done.
Yeah, amazing. I want to quickly chat with you about self-belief for a moment. You're a woman, I'm a woman. We're really passionate about building other women up. But I think one of the biggest challenges that women tend to face is that self-belief, that self-talk. I notice many people entering this business and can go years of telling themselves that they're not good enough and they don't have what it takes. Is this something that you've ever personally experienced, or did you kind of just enter this business and go, nah, I'm awesome, I've got this?
We all have gone through personal development in this business. It's one of the key benefits of this business. A lot of people talk about the monetary benefits and the travel, the friendships, but the personal growth is one of the main benefits. And, in my first book, My Mentor Walks on Water, chapter 1 is, who do you think you are? So we write stories, or people from our childhood have told us things, and we write that story over and over that doesn't serve us. But chapter
Yep.
2 is who God says you are. And we have to realign our belief of who we are and who we say we are with who God says that we are. So we need
Yep.
to not lower the bar. You know, my husband says God has he has a bar for your life, and it's not our job to lower it.
Ooh, I love that.
Isn't that great?
That's awesome. So good. And so, when it comes to self belief, you said that you've done a lot of personal development as well as I think most leaders in this industry, or really most leaders in the world, have had to do in order to, keep rising above and stepping into their full capacity. And I don't think anyone ever does, by the way. I had a
Yes.
really amazing company founder came on here about a year ago, and he talked about how his mission for life is to see everyone step into their full potential, but he knows it's an impossible mission because we'll never be able to do it in our lifetimes. He said, which is both a sad thing, but it's also a great thing because there's always room for growth, right?
Right.
But what have you done specifically? Has there been any particular activity that you've done or any change of habits that you implemented for yourself to help you get over that, overcome that issue of self-belief, or am I capable, should I, could I?
Sure.
What have you done personally?
Well, manage your self-talk and surround yourself with people who will also bust you on your self-talk,
Ooh,
because your
good one.
inner circle is so
Yep.
important. But I just stay in God's word because it's the best owner's manual for who we are and
An
how God
instruction
sees
book,
us.
right? Yep.
Yes, it is the best instruction book.
Yeah.
But yeah, the personal growth is amazing. A dear friend of mine, Keith Kochner, says, we were made in God's image. So think about that. We can
Mhm.
never step into our greatness. We can only step away from our greatness because he's already made
We
us
are it.
beautifully and
Yeah.
wonderfully in his image. So we
Yeah.
don't take that to our head and become narcissists and conceited about it. We take that with reverence,
Yeah.
that what an amazing God that we serve. And he's
Mm.
given me a vehicle to help
Yeah.
others, see that. And so I love what I do. I can't believe it. I'm more passionate and excited about my business than I ever have. I've wrote 2 best-selling books, and people will say to me, "Oh, now that you're an author, do you still do your little networking business?" And I'm like, "Yes. In fact, it's actually attracted more people to my business because I'm meeting people in circles that would never ask me about my product or my business, but they know me as an author, and they start, researching. They look at my website or my social media, and they just go, "What is it? What do you do?" So sometimes we can show up a little less. We were talking about this earlier, Sam. You won't see me on social media uh, with my products and all, the things. I was older when social media came out, and so I'm a little bit more shy with that. So what God has shown me is just to be me. Just
Yep.
be you, and I'll take care of everything else.
Yeah. Yep. So important. And so one of the things I noticed that you do is you're really great with leadership. You're really great at inspiring people. You do a lot of training with your teams, et cetera, and providing them with growth opportunities. When someone starts in the business, and I know that you're probably not as hands-on with this now as much as you are empowering others to be hands-on with this, but what advice do you generally offer to someone brand new in the business to help them gain momentum quickly and have some of those quick wins that are important in order to keep people going in the direct selling industry?
I say don't let go of your dream, and don't give up before payday. Just trust the process. I tell them that I have helped so many people that would be millionaires today if they had not quit. And so
Mm,
I help manage their expectations by
yep.
telling them that when things get moving and you're going and going and going, it's not going to feel like your income is catching up too much, but it will. And if you stick with it, there are no guarantees. Every company has their compensation average models, which we all show very diligently to show the averages of what's possible. But it's neat to know what's possible, right?
Yeah.
And so just don't give up. Be coachable. Keep it simple. Have fun, and don't forget what your why is. What is it? And so I do an interview, Sam, when somebody is enrolling, and I teach my leaders to do this as well. We call it a personal strategy session, but we sit down and just find out about them, their dog's name, their
I
kid's
love
name, their
that.
loves,
Yep.
their hobbies, everything, their husband's name. And then what is it that you want to accomplish with this? So if they go dark on me, if they go into the witness protection program, I can message and say, Sam, when you started, you told me that you wanted this, this, and this. Has that changed?
Yeah.
Because
Wow.
I know this business is not easy, but so is, not being there when your baby takes their first step. That's not easy either. So
Yep.
choose your hard.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. I love that. That's really powerful and so simple. I think it's also something a lot of people don't do. A little onboarding session, essentially, that little strategy call
Yes.
to find out. And, the why can be a really hard thing. We talk about it a lot on this podcast because it just keeps coming up as one of those very critically important parts to successful business is knowing why you do what you do and turning it from a maybe into a must, right?
Yes.
But a lot of people, when they first come into the business, don't understand what that why is or why it's important to understand it. So you as a leader can actually, I love that you are proactive in finding that out and using that as almost like their anchor and coming back to it again. That's really powerful. I love it.
Yeah. And you can do recognition around it.
Yep.
You may have someone that is afraid to get on an airplane. Well, maybe you're not going to talk about the trips as much, right? Or maybe you have a new mom that just wants to have a break and earn some money and get away. You're going to talk to them differently based on listening to what their needs are.
Yep. It's one of the things that we do inside of our Rise Up Inner Circle when people join that, because that's a group of business builders. So they're specifically people wanting to grow their businesses in the industry. The very first question we make them answer in front of everybody is why you do what you do and what you are most hoping to achieve with your business. Because when they have to say it in front of everybody and everyone's now holding them to account with that, it's almost like a personal, well, I don't want to everyone knows that's what I want to do.
Yes.
And so when they're checking in going, hey, how are you going on the way towards that goal to achieve the incentive trip or paying for college or whatever it happens to be, that person has now got 50 other people. I've seen a few companies actually get people to do a little recording of them sharing why they've stepped into the business and the goal they're hoping to achieve. And because that recording's out there and everyone knows, they shared it with the whole team. It's almost like this personal accountability.
Yes. It actually becomes a stake in the ground. And when they declare it, it's almost like the world steps aside for the person that declares and knows where they're going. And we have to remember this is a business. People are yes, they're doing it for community and all the things, but they're doing it to earn, an income. And so putting attaching what they will do with that income to their business helps keep them stay in and not get a part of that revolving door. Once they get rejection, they go in that revolving door. So just stick with it and stay in activity.
Yeah. Yep. So good. So, what do you do? I mean, you mentioned before, Donna, about social media, and this was kind of a trick question because I mentioned this to you before. When I ask a question from a leader about social media, I'm actually kind of hoping they're not going to go down that technical path because I want people to understand social media is a tool, right? It's a tool to build relationships, to make connections. But you mentioned before that on social media you show up as yourself. What strategies do you use, or how do you use social media to grow your business? Because I know it helps you grow your business. So what is your social media strategy?
I don't know if I have a social media strategy.
I think you have one that's just not specifically outlined because
Right.
you've actually worked out
Yes.
that you are
No,
the strategy, right? Which means you
yeah,
don't
it's
need to be anything other than what you are.
yeah, it's actually spirit led. I don't have a cadence or anything like that. It is totally spirit led. I just know that if I stay in obedience to Holy Spirit, He will open the door. So I just show up who I am. I'm not afraid to share my views and my faith. God, we're instructed to not hide and under a rock and let our light shine. And so the right people are attracted to that. And I have people reach out all the time, tell me what it is that you do. So you will just
So
attract people.
you must be seeding very gently or occasionally sharing just little tiny
Yes.
nuggets or pieces of what you do. What does
hmm
that look like? Is that deliberate or is that kind of just a, hey, this is just what I got up to today type of a scenario?
You know, one of the reasons I think that you and I connected so well in Salt Lake is because your training really resonated with me. I was
Hmm.
like, oh, that's what I do. Because you said people are getting tired of perfect. They're,
Hmm.
and the way that I translated it was, the reels, REELs, they want to see real,
Yeah.
REAL. And I was like, wow, this is so cool because that's how I feel. I show up on social media. It's not always perfect. But that really, validated it. And honestly, with AI and everything, I think people are very intuitive to what's fake and
Mm.
what's real. And
Yep.
so I think the more you can show up authentically as you, um, that is attractive.
Yep. And, the other thing I think we've got to remember, particularly as women, and you and I are both very, very passionate about seeing women thrive and step into, their incredible, miraculous capacity that they have. But one of the issues is the highlight reels. And I talk about this. Everyone's sharing their highlight reel on social media, which is the perfect version of themselves, the non real version. And it's actually those times where I see people sharing the we're not going to call it the low light, but the in-betweens. I call it your micro stories, the things that happen in between the major highs and the major lows, but the things that are real. That people really lean in. And anytime I do that, and anytime I see my students do that, we see massive growth and massive reach outs and massive connection because people are sick of feeling like, well, I'm not as good as that person, or I don't look like that right after I've had a baby, or I don't earn $1 million in my first year of business. There must be something wrong with me. I think we need to see
Yeah.
more of the real reels, like what you said, instead of the highlight reel. And I think when we do that, we're also becoming more of a healthy inspiration for other people around us
Right.
as well, right?
Right. Because we're not all perfect. And if we come across, I even share this with my leaders, if you come across like everything goes perfectly. Some of my leaders were here. I just did a retreat and we were at a boutique and I just met a lovely girl. We hit it off. And I just started talking to her about my business and we exchanged cards and my leaders left today, but I messaged her right away to do a meetup and I haven't heard back from her. So I shared with my leaders, hey, that sweet girl that I met yesterday? I haven't heard back from her. So, I think because our team experiences that. And if they think
Yes.
everything you do, oh, everybody must get back to you because
Yeah,
you're Donna Johnson, right?
you've
No,
got
it's
it all
not how it
together.
works.
Yeah. It is so true. But the other thing is, and I got to work with a leader a couple of years ago. She was one of the top leaders of a network marketing company. I met her at a conference in the US. She said, "Would you coach me?" Now, I don't typically do a lot of coaching, but in her case, I could see a major issue was going on, and she found that her leaders were dropping off and she had stopped building her team, but she hadn't changed anything. The thing that had changed was the world and the people around her. And it was right at that time when we were in lockdown and people were going through some big life changes. And she kept showing up on social media with all of these perfect pictures. I mean, she had a photographer came in once a month and professionally took photographs of her in her business with her products, doing all sorts of things. Now, this woman happened to be someone who lived on a ranch, loved horses, and loved to spend time with her kids in her I don't know what you call them, but like in her checkered shirts and her cowboy hat and her jeans and no makeup on. But you never, ever, ever saw her show up on social media that way. You always saw her in perfect clothing with her makeup perfectly done, perfectly positioned on a couch or at her desk. And her team started to drop off. And I explained to her that the reason this was happening is because people didn't feel like they could be her. They couldn't join. They couldn't be a part of what she was because she was too perfect. And I said, "Have you ever shown up just with your horses or with your no makeup on and just taken a photo with your phone?" She said, "Gosh, no, I wouldn't do that. I've got too many people watching me." I said, "That's the point. People need to feel like, oh, she's just like me. I can be like that.
Right.
If she can grow that business, I can grow that business because I walk around often in my backyard without my makeup on and I hang out with my kids without being in designer clothes." And so she started taking photos with her phone and just showing up in a real way and in an authentic way. And she saw a huge shift very, very quickly. But it's this constant feeling like I can't show up on social media because I haven't got it all together yet, right? Which is such flawed thinking because that's not who we are. That's not how we relate. We don't like seeing it either, by the way. And yet so many people think they have to get it right before they show up and talk about their business.
So true.
I would love to just quickly talk about your amazing books, Donna. You have got a best-selling book. You've recently released another book, which you handed me a copy while I was with you. I've started reading it, and it's a beautiful book. It's a quick and easy read too. Mm-hmm. Plus, you've also contributed as well to Think and Grow Rich for Women, which I thought was really amazing. Can you tell us a little bit about just basically about your books, how people can get hold of them, what the inspiration was behind writing these books?
Funny story about Sharon Lechter writing Think and Grow Rich for Women through the Napoleon Hill Foundation. My story is in chapter 1 between Oprah and Mother Teresa.
Oh my goodness.
And I have a high school guidance counselor that told me that I was not college material. And so he was still alive when that book came out, and I sent him a copy and signed.
Did you ever hear from him?
No, but a family member. I heard from a family member after he passed. So because they found the book. But no.
So he read it. He saw it.
So I just truly believe that God gives us influence in certain areas of our life. And so he's given me influence in business. And so the books were very inspiring. The first one, My Mentor Walks on Water. The second one, My Mentor's Radical Love. And they energized me because, I was being obedient with those books. I had no desire to write a book, but it was completely anointed, inspired, and I was just literally being obedient. And so I love it. It's just a new chapter of my life. It's actually been kryptonite for my business too, because I'm diversifying, and I think that's important so that you're not just one thing. We're parents, we're a spouse, I'm a nana, right? I mean, we show up in so many places, and I think that's rich. I think that's nice. I think that's what other people want too. I love to travel. I love to read, all the things that make us more I don't know, attractive and well-rounded.
Yep. I love it. And so if people want to get hold of one of your books, do they go to Amazon? Do they go to your
Yeah,
website? I mean, we'll put the
anywhere.
link in the show notes too, but
Yeah, anywhere books are sold. And you can go to mentordonnajohnson.com and follow me on Instagram or Facebook, Mentor Donna Johnson. So there are a lot of Donna Johnsons, but there's only one Mentor Donna Johnson.
I love it. Okay, so Mentor Donna Johnson. We'll put all these links in the show notes so you can
Yeah.
grab them really quickly and really easily. And I would love to ask you some fun questions now, Donna. Have you got a moment just quickly for me to throw these ones at you? These are my
Sure.
favorites. Now, I know you've already talked about a few books, but I'd love to know what's one of your favorite books for us to add to our accelerator book list.
Well, I'm a little boring, but I love the chronological Bible in a year. It's so fascinating. And
Yep.
there's so many leadership principles in the Bible. In fact, my husband from Sweden became a believer because he was backstage with Zig Ziglar many years ago, over 20 years ago. And my husband asked him for some leadership principles. And Zig said, "Son, read the book." So Thomas got a book. He was looking for leadership principles, and they are there. So I
Wow.
know
I love it.
it's so true.
Yeah, a really good friend of mine, actually, Stephen Scott, who's also been on this podcast, wrote a book about the book of Proverbs and how he actually turned his business life around by every day of the month reading one of the chapters of Proverbs and then just noting down what he learned from that chapter, because it's actually a book of life lessons and
Yes.
especially financial and business lessons as well. So it's really
Yes.
fascinating when you read it from
So
that point of view.
true.
And I've since spoken to many people who are not
Right.
even Christian who live by the
Yes.
Proverbs principles because there's so much
Yeah.
wisdom in there, right?
Yeah. And I think the world is full of what I like to call shelf help.
Yes. I
And
think there are two hobbies. There's reading and collecting books. I have both. So also have an entire bookshelf of books I love to collect.
so I think it's good to go to the one who, made us, who wrote the instruction manual for us.
Yeah.
So then we can
Yep.
not have so much shelf help.
Great advice. I love it. But it's still fun to collect really great books, right? If you could have a superpower, any superpower, what would it be and why?
I think passion and gratitude. I'm always passionate about this business because I'm so grateful for what it's done for my life and what I see it doing for so many others' lives. So I've not gotten caught in that entitlement. Well, I'm good, I don't. I just don't think that the word retirement is in the Bible. I don't know if you know that. It's just I think we're designed not to be workaholics, but to serve. And what
Yeah.
better way
Yep.
to serve than this profession? So
Yeah.
gratitude.
I love it. I did not know retirement was not in the Bible. That's okay. I don't see me retiring either. So I hear you. And isn't it funny, though, that those people that are truly passionate and love what they do and know their why, they don't stop ever. They might
Yeah.
change the way that they operate a little bit and slow down
Yeah.
and prioritize health a little bit more. But at the end of the day, they
I
still
call
continue
it,
serving.
Sam, I call it rest and rhythm versus hustle and grind. When you have
Yep.
rest
So good.
and rhythm,
Yep.
you can enjoy your life.
Yep. So powerful. Your favorite quote, Donna?
My favorite quote, we just built a new house in Wisconsin, and we actually made a mural with the quote, and it's by Billy Graham. Your courage strengthens the spine of others. That's my all-time favorite quote.
Ooh, I love
Your
that.
courage
Mhm.
strengthens the spine of others. So I believe when we operate in courage, so many people, when they start this business, they're just like, you know, in this little shell, and then they just start to come out. And so when they see people just like them
Mm.
succeeding, it gives them courage. And so
Yep.
that's my favorite quote.
Yep. So good. And last question, my favorite question always is, if you could go back in time and say one thing to your past self, what would that be?
I really got a lot of, I just was distracted a lot because I'm a real go-getter.
Yep.
And so I would be distracted by drama or um, other people's opinions or things like that. And I wish I wouldn't have done that. I don't do it
Yep.
now, but I wish I wouldn't have done that when I was younger. I wish I would have just stayed focused, keep your eye on the horizon. Yes, innovate, make change, but don't go chasing every shiny penny. Don't go worrying about whatever other people think. I'm more concerned about what he thinks.
Yep. Yep. I love it. Well, Donna, thank you so, so much for honoring me by, coming and sharing on the podcast today. And of course, our amazing listeners who I know really love to hear these stories from others that have gone before them that are doing amazing things. And so thank you for being such an inspiration and so passionately serving every day. We really appreciate you.
Thank you, Sam. This was so fun.
And of course, thank you as well to our beautiful listeners for tuning in again this week. We look forward to seeing you on the podcast next week. Make sure you subscribe and share this with somebody else that you know it will impact. So we'll see you on the podcast again next week. That's it from us. Bye for now, everyone. Thank you for joining us in this episode of the Direct Selling Accelerator podcast. If you love listening and you found that this was helpful for your direct selling business, please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can also check out the recommended video that's popped up on your screen right here. I look forward to seeing you again next time. Bye for now.